Hello, new hair, who dis? Yes, I got my hair cut for the first time in probably about 5 years. I got my hair done at an actual salon, and I, I've had mom ponytail for 20 years and more. So decided to go and get my hair done, and uh, we found the curls. So they're natural, and I got to kind of scrunch it every once in a while because the frizz will come and make me Rosanna Dana. But in the meantime, I'm pretty happy with it. And so shout out to Annalisa at Willow and Birch in Springfield, Illinois, who did my hair. Uh, I wanted to talk today about a discovery I made about me and decluttering craft supplies and yarn supplies and knitting supplies. And I found this out through the process of doing it. Um, I got in touch with a place that one of my friends, one of my podcast listeners, had suggested to me, a place downtown Springfield called Creative Reuse Marketplace. And these kind of places are popping up. You might look in your local area to see if anything like this has been done. This is a restore for craft supplies, and it's particularly marketed toward uh, people doing things with groups of children, people doing teachers, elementary school teachers, who are often, of course, paying out of their own pocket for supplies for their classroom, who might need some art supplies or an art project that they could do with their class. These stores, the website and the Facebook page of Creative Reuse Marketplace, um, they have a lot of ribbon, they have a lot of buttons, they have puzzle pieces, old puzzle pieces that you could spray paint and make into frames and so forth, those kind of projects. Um, and I got in touch with them via email and said I had these knitting books, and I have, a lot of knitting books, and many of them are from the 1980s and 90s. I've outgrown them. They're some of it is just not in style anymore, but some of it is just I've outgrown them. I'm not knitting that way anymore. I'm not doing a lot of fair isle knitting. Um, I'm knitting socks and I'm knitting garments for myself, and I sort of know very specifically what I want to knit. So it it's fairly easy for me to look at a knitting book and say this is something that feeds me now and this isn't. And finding an outlet that would take those books that I didn't want anymore. And then Creative Reuse Marketplace is only open uh, 2 hours on a Saturday, and they only take donations just uh, 2 days a week, 2 days a month, excuse me, 2 Saturdays a month. So I had to make an appointment to bring stuff in. And so that was motivating. But I think more motivating than knowing I had an appointment was knowing that these books were going to be appreciated. And so I'm uh, boxing up these books, and as I said, it was quite easy for me to look at these books and say, okay, this is something I know I will use in the next year, and this isn't. I even found a couple of hardcover books that were duplicates, so that was easy to part with. Um, and I got rid of over 50 hardcover knitting books. I just counted what's left on the shelves, and it's about 60, a little over 60. So I got rid of 40% of my knitting books, and I'm giving them to a good home. I know that they're going to be appreciated. I know a craft person is going to go in and look at those and see, find something inspiration. And so that to me was a real victory in terms of organizing and getting things feeding my creativity more in my space, which is a big goal I have. Another thing that I did this week is I have been trying to clean off my desk, just my desk, for 3 weeks. And um, this time at work this week is very full. And so that sounds like I have a lot to do, but it actually means that everyone else is doing stuff that I would ordinarily do. So I've had a little bit of downtime at work to clear off my desk, to clean off my desk. And so I found um, I found a little bit of time sitting at my desk monitoring what's going on at work because I work from home and I work remotely and I need to be at my computer. But time at my desk to clear things away. And I know I've talked about this before about gamifying and finding ways to make it fun to just keep going when you're cleaning or organizing. But maybe some of you have one of these. This one is a clover, not expensive, but let me see if I can. This is a knitting. This is for knitting or crochet, a row counter. And you click it and it goes to 2, 3. And then when it gets to 10, a little harder, it clicks over to 10 and you can keep going. And then you can reset this and start over at 0, 0. You can turn the little knobs and turn it over to 0, 0. So I put this on a string and I put it around my neck. And every time I put something away on my desk, I gave this a little click. And so even when I put a paper clip away, that counted as a thing. And my goal, and I know this is crazy because this is my desk, but it is my desk and it's been this way for a long time. And I got up to 100. I had to grab my makeup box that is also in my office, and I emptied that out and threw out a lot of old stuff there too. But I wanted to get to 100, so I decluttered that as well. But I got my desk cleared off, and I got my makeup cleaned out, and I got to 100, and boy, does it look better. It's just fantastic. So I suggest that take this little knitting clicker counter, put it around your neck, gamify, and click when you click. There you go, 14. Click when you get get one thing off of your desk, and keep going. And set a goal, 25, 50, whatever. It does make a difference. So progress, not perfection. The third thing is much more knitting related. I have been cleaning out my Ravelry queue and my Ravelry projects. And I have discovered that I had a lot of projects on Ravelry. I've just been neglecting that. I just haven't been cataloging stuff. I've been cataloging the socks I make because I have to have a photo of the sock in a project before I can share it at the Grocery Girls uh, sock bash knit along. So I've had to catalog my socks in order to share them. That's very motivating for finishing your socks. So I have been deleting old projects that were put up there when I started them and then I never really got going with them or I threw them out. If they don't have a picture and they have no comments, they're gone. Now, I found one project that for some reason the picture was gone, but I had 2 comments about what the project looked like. I found out that I had somehow embedded photos from Flickr, which had disappeared. I went back to my Flickr channel and found them and pasted them in. I assume this was before Ravelry was hosting photos. So yeah, that's how old they are. But I was able to clean that one up. And just getting all of that cleared away, I discovered that this cowl, which I will take off and share with you, this is the Click-A-Tat cowl by Casapinka. Let's let the motorcycle go by, shall we? Um, This was a kit for another cowl, and I decided to make a Casapinka cowl out of it. This is two skeins of Koigu, Painter's Palette Merino, one in gray and one in a variegated blue. Came as a kit, and this is the Click-A-Tat cowl from 2016. I knit it until I was about to run out of yarn, and then I bound it off, and I discovered that the bind off was just a little bit too tight. I just didn't like it. So I folded it under. The top of this was in stockinette, in two color stockinette, and I folded it over and sewed it down. And that made that top quite a bit stretchier to have that stockinette up there instead of just the bind off. And I did stop this quite a bit sooner than the pattern called for because I ran out of yarn, and I didn't want to add another color to this. I like the depth of it. It turned out very nice. But it's not on Ravelry. I hadn't put it on Ravelry, and I finished this years ago. So I'm going to photograph it and put it on Ravelry and make sure I catalog and celebrate that, I finished something and it looks pretty. I like it. So that's the next goal, is to get projects cleaned up on Ravelry, and then I'm going to start putting UFOs on Ravelry, and I've actually I've set up a group on Ravelry, which I will link below, which is 2025, the year of UFOs. If anyone wants to join me on that, that's something that I want to do, and I'm not sure whether I'll be able to get a larger group to take that over. That's kind of my goal, is to maybe get somebody else with more followers. Excuse me. Somebody with more followers to actually take that on and use it. But I made a logo for it, and with a space alien knitting and so forth. So that was kind of fun. I'll share that in the link below. And then I went on Reddit, and the knitting group on Reddit is really a good group of people, r/knitting. And I put up a post 3 days ago. How often do you go through your stash? And here's what I wrote. I'm decluttering and restructuring my knitting room, and also planning to make 2025 the year of the UFO, finish, or frog. I'm wondering how often folks go through their stash and figure out what to keep and what to give away/sell. I have found success with asking the question, does this inspire me, when deciding what yarn to keep and what to eject. Also, does anyone here catalog their stash on Ravelry? Do you find that helpful? And had 46 responses to that. And I will link this also down below. I'd like to read you a couple of these answers, though, because they were very, very helpful to me. This is from Zane in the Fast Lane. Last December was my death to UFO come to Jesus moment. By the time I dragged them out from their hiding place, I had close to 18 UFOs. I made a spreadsheet and I started methodically finishing or frogging. And one thing that I mentioned on Ravelry when I'm starting this group is that, to me, deciding to frog something is as much a victory as deciding and finishing something. You're really contributing to getting the flow of your creativity going by simply making a decision about something. Zane in the Fast Lane continues, I am now down to 2 unfinished projects, so next I am tackling my definite stash acquisition beyond life expectancy. I'm using a simple spreadsheet as well, still in the middle of cataloging. Unfortunately, I love to buy yarn. So I am adopting a 50-50 policy. Any new project I start must have at least 50% stashed yarn, unless it is a request or special item. I just finished a cardigan with stashed bulky alpaca, 10 years in the stash. mixed with a brand new mohair, and I'm over the moon. So the idea is to move out more yarn than I put in. I am really happy with the success so far. Completing abandoned projects and finding purpose for lovely yarn gives me a great feeling. Yeah, I that meant a lot to me. Um, I really identified with that. Someone else wrote, this is Brooke F308 wrote, I have my stash pretty well cataloged on Ravelry, and I don't think it helps me too much. What did help immensely is hanging my hanks on a visible storage board. It keeps everything I have top of mind, and when I run out of storage room on the board, it forces me to use up something before I have space for new yarn. This keeps me from overbuying too. And she links to an IKEA pegboard that she hangs her yarn from. And if you don't have a moth problem, if you live in a place that is dry enough and insect free, and you have your stuff is you're an everything out person. I mean, this is also just organizational preferences. But if you are someone that likes everything out, that is a good way to do it. And then Knitrot 150 wrote, I have mine all in Rav and it helps me so much. Otherwise, I'd have no idea the amounts I have. I have an easier time using up random bits this way. I have a pretty large stash too. And another eternity replied, I have mine in Rav and the size of my stash causes the problems and sometimes just convinces me to swap to starting a different project. To keep everything neat, it's in boxes in my closet, and the box number is listed in Ravelry. And I have them organized, but I use semi small boxes, so there's 2x2 rows of stacks. So if I figure out this is amazing. So if I figure out my stash is in a back bottom box, I just don't want to go through the effort of retrieving it. I organize about once or twice a year. Since I don't like pulling boxes, I often don't always organize new purchases in the correct bins, and I also reassess older purchases for giveaway. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think in addition to shopping your stash when you're looking at a new project, um, going through and seeing whether those purchases actually feed your creativity at all is a really good point. I've given away um, some yarn that was designed for middle child. I made her a sweater, and it was right after I made middle child the sweater. I thought, oh, I love making sweaters for middle child. I'm going to go out and buy acrylic yarn to make sweaters for her. She's vegan. She won't wear wool. So I wound up, stacking, and she's a small size, so I didn't need to buy tons of yarn for the idea of a cardigan for her. So I was sitting there buying sweater quantities of acrylic to make sweaters for her, and it turns out, no, that's really not something that I need to do. In fact, she prefers cotton, and she likes t-shirts. So little square t-shirts, which are really easy, and I'll knit one for her birthday once a year, a little square t-shirt, and she really appreciates it. She wears them. So um, that's I got rid of a lot of those kind of acrylic quantities because it just wasn't meeting the need. Yeah. So I appreciate everyone that responded to that Reddit question. Um, some people do put all of their stash on Ravelry. My goal at this point is to get my projects and my UFOs on there first. And then I think I will go ahead and catalog particularly the wool that I have sweater quantities for, because that will help me kind of plan sweaters. Socks, it's very different because I'm knitting socks based on the categories that Grocery Girls has put up on their knit along. So every month there's a new theme for the socks that people are knitting. So this month is basket weave. Next month is cables. I've talked about this in earlier podcasts. Um, in May there was the garden theme, and I used Zen Yarn Garden sock yarn to make socks. I don't want to declutter my sock yarn because one of those skeins might meet the need of a category. And I'm happy to have lots of sock yarn because I knit a pair of socks every month. So I don't feel overwhelmed by the amount of sock yarn I own, knowing that it's there for me to shop from as I'm making uh, socks every month. All right. I hope this has been helpful. I will have links below. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week. Bye.